Greetings and welcome to the Transform Podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Anastasio. It's Monday, February 27th, 2023, and welcome to episode 104 of our podcast. A couple of weeks ago, guys, on Friday the 17th, we published our last episode, 103. Time to Check Your Fonts is the title of that one. And just putting a quick plug in on that, building off of some content that we had up on one of our related affiliates LinkedIn pages about how choosing the right font can be such a game changer in terms of the message that you put out. You can use the exact same words but present it with different coloration, font, style, and you get a totally different meaning from it. And if you guys go listen to that episode 103, in that episode I direct you to an example of this that appears on that LinkedIn account. And when you guys see it, if you kind of follow the breadcrumbs to it, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's a really incredible difference with again, the exact same set of words, but different fonts and what it makes you feel when you read each one of them. So definitely check that out, guys. That was a chance to kind of take things back to basics a little bit. As we sort of opened up 2023, giving you an opportunity to look at some of the marketing assets that you have in place, whether it's your website, whether it's your brochures, whether it's slicks that you hand out at conferences, whatever the case may be. Look at those fonts, look at the styles, the colors, and make sure that people have an objective opinion, not you looking at them, but people that you can kind of put them in front of and say, hey, what does this convey to you? What does this make you feel when you read this? Let me know, because that's the lens that you want to apply to it and see how people are reacting to that font, to that color, and kind of informing you whether you're on the right track or not. Okay, so that's what episode 103 was about. Published that about 10 days ago. Hope you guys get a chance to check that out. Today, wanted to talk to you guys real quick about a very common theme here on the podcast. It's probably the most common theme, and that is talking about producing more content, just more volume, churning out more opportunities to reach your audience, connect with your audience, learn what your audience is responding to or isn't responding to. And we've long asserted here, guys, that the best way to do that is volume, because volume frees you up from having to be perfect, right? If you only produce a little bit of content, you'd have to be perfect every time to really be reaching people and resonating, right? But the more content you produce, the more you can sort of range around, find the messaging that's connecting best with your audience, find the methodology that's connecting best with them, and then as you learn that over time, you can make more of that content and less of the other kind. Okay, so a couple weeks ago, again on the affiliate to Transform, affiliated site, LinkedIn account, Plethora IT, they had a great post up there about producing 55 pieces of content from one video clip. Okay, so definitely encourage you guys to take a look at this. Like I said, it came out a couple weeks ago, so I think it was about first half of February. You may have to kind of scroll around a little bit to find that. But it was a really systematic breakdown of how you can take one, asset, if you will, one marketing asset, one piece of content, and repurpose it into all of these other assets. And I think, the thing that I really wanted to message to you guys today, besides going and taking a look at that post, which I think will be super helpful in and of itself, is that the hardest thing to do here, guys, is to have to rethink of this every time you produce content. So having to rethink every time you produce something, okay, wait a second, I just produced X piece of content, a podcast, a 5,000 word article, 10 tweets in a row in a thread, whatever the case might be. And then having to think all over again, okay, well, what else can I do with that? What else can I do with those tweets? What else can I do with that article? What else can I do with that video? It gets cumbersome to have to mentally re-engage that process flow of how do I move this piece of content into lots of other types of pieces of content. And it's like literally tackling the same problem, but over and over and over again, right? So, and something I think, I must have mentioned at least once before on the previous 103 episodes here, but one of the things I've found personally, and I've read this a lot, and I think it's really the case for most people, I don't think many people fall outside this category, is that when you systematize something, right? When you have a repeated process, a repeated set of tasks that you typically perform in sequence, and you have to rethink through that sequence every time, it's much, much harder, much, much more challenging than if you create a system that governs the way you do that process. And then when you enter that process each time, let's say each day that you make content and you're sitting there thinking about how to repurpose it, you have this system that governs the repurposing of content, right? And it literally says, okay, Chris, when you produce a piece of content that is X, you can then repurpose it into A, B, C, D, E, and F. Okay? So in other words, it's not about that specific piece of content, meaning the things you said or the things you wrote. It's about that type of format that you produced and what other formats can come from it. So let me give you an example, guys. Let's say you produce a 1,000-word article on, let's just say, tax preparation. I'm just going to throw a topic out there. So you have a 1,000-word written article on tax preparation. Okay. Now you step back and you say, okay, I've got a 1,000-word article here. What else do I turn a 1,000-word article into? And I'm just going off the top of my head here, guys, and obviously this could be slightly different given your area of interest, your topic. It could be slightly different given your own proclivities on which content you tend towards, or you feel you're stronger at or whatever. But let's say you were running the gamut. You were trying to produce every possible thing that you could out of that 1,000-word article. Then you would look at that and you would say, okay, I've got a 1,000-word article. And again, by the way, guys, not all of this is I wouldn't say all of this is mandatory to do it this way, but these may be choices you make in terms of how you can reuse the content. Let me give you an example of that. A 1,000-word article that, let's say, you would publish on LinkedIn, you could publish that entire article, assuming it meets the character limit, on Facebook. That could be one Facebook post. But you might also feel like it's too big, it's too unwieldy for Facebook. So where it's good in that very professionalized setting on LinkedIn, you might say, well, let me take that 1,000-word article and make 300-plus word text posts on Facebook and release it as a series. So today's part 1, tomorrow's part 2, and tomorrow's part 3. So you see what I'm saying, guys? It's not that you're forced into making it into 3 pieces, but you make a choice that that's how you like to use long-form LinkedIn text content on Facebook. So keep that in mind, guys, as I go through this guidance to you on how to repurpose content. Again, it's not that the platform is forcing you into this. It's a choice you're making, okay? But you set that choice ahead of time. So back to our example, as soon as you write that 1,000-word article, you have ChatGPT write that 1,000-word article for you on LinkedIn, you now consult your governance, your system, for what to do with that piece of content. Step 1, turn it into 3 Facebook textual posts. Step 2, make 3 medium length, I'd say 3 to 7 minute YouTube videos. Make, 15 YouTube shorts, 1 minute or less. Take the 3 minute or less YouTube videos, put those on TikTok. Okay? Take the 1,000-word article and extract 15 tweets, like short little punchy 1 or 2 sentence snippets from it, turn it into a thread. Okay? So what you would do, guys, is you would have decided all of this ahead of time. And you would say, every time I get the 1,000-word article, I get all these other pieces of content. Whatever that 1,000-word article is. Don't even care what the topic is. Don't even care what the headline is. Don't even care what the literal textual content is. You just know if you create format A leads to format B, C, D, E, and F. And you automatically run it through that gauntlet every time you create format A. Just like by complete habitual force of habit, for lack of a better way to say that. Okay, so there's no contemplation. You don't sit there scratching your head like, what else can I do with this 1,000-word article? You just do it. You just take the 1,000 words, make the 3 Facebook posts, make the 3 YouTube videos, make the 10 YouTube shorts, make the 15 tweets. Whatever the number is that you come to. Okay, obviously, the more you're doing, the more tweets, the more videos, whatever, that's capacity. That's governed by your capacity. How many more videos can you make? How many more tweets can you write? How many more, subsection articles can you derive from it, right? That is going to be somewhat dictated by your own capacity and pacing. But wherever you're comfortable, and of course you want to push that boundary as far as you can because, as we say here on the podcast, you need more, more, more. So the furthest you can push the envelope, the further you can push that, the better. But the key point here is it's all decided ahead of time. It's all decided ahead of time. And it's just reflexive every time you crank that piece of content out going forward. Now, some pieces of content aren't going to lend themselves as easily to producing so much content as, let's say, a 1,000-word article. I mean, a 1,000-word article is very rich with possibilities. So you have lots of other, other types of formats or sub-formats, whatever terminology you want to use there, okay, that you can endeavor upon with that first piece of content. But let's take a bunch of tweets. Let's say you just, knock out 10 tweets in a day. Just kind of randomize. You're going to tweet on this, tweet on that. Boom, 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 boom. You get 10 of them out during the day. Now, what can you do with 10 tweets? Not as much as you can do with a 1,000-word article, but there's a few things you can do. You can make a video about all of them. If they all kind of relate to each other, make a video and wrap them all together. Or make a video about each one. Take each one and expand upon it. Okay? Make short expansion videos on TikTok or YouTube Shorts. Make long expander type videos on YouTube. Okay? Take each tweet and redo it as a voice tweet. You say, why would I do that, Chris? I already tweeted it. Well, some people are going to want to consume it by reading. Some people are going to want to consume it by listening. Okay? There's no reason to constrain yourself there artificially. Okay? So, bottom line, guys, is the message here is don't have to rethink this. Don't make yourself rethink this every single time you produce a piece of content. Matrix this out. If I produce content format A, I get content formats B, C, D, E, G, blah, blah, blah. Okay? All the way down the line. However many you think you can convert it into. And, you'll test this out and you'll try some things and, some might seem to work better than others, whatever the case might be. Okay? But that's the key, is you're trying, you're experimenting, you're seeing what works. Okay? So, I want to end the podcast here, guys. I'm actually going to follow this up in episode 105. First, I thought I would do these together, but I'm going to follow this up in 105 with what you do after this. It's kind of a two-step process. This is step one, okay, is deciding which formats turn into which other formats ahead of time, right, creating that governance model I talked about. And then the second thing, we'll talk more platform-specific, okay, and how to then handle the content you've produced. Okay, but the key here, guys, is we want to keep putting out lots of different ideas, lots of different suggestions to you on how you can produce more content. Okay, it's obviously repetitive at the macro, but in a tactical sense, there's lots of different ways and ideas and little tricks and tips you can use to try to get there. Okay, but the constant thing you should be thinking about is, how do I get there? How do I get there? To producing higher volume, more content, reaching more people, testing out more theses, just trying different things at all times, and then doubling down where it's working. Okay, guys, so we're going to wrap up here on this Monday night. Hope everybody has a great start to the week. We'll try to come back to you later this week with episode 105. If not, we'll see you next week here. Really appreciate the support you guys have given the podcast and just general online for Pransform. So check us out on Facebook and LinkedIn at Pransform, Pransform, and you can go to the website, pransform.com, and check us out there as well. Please follow along with, subscribe to the podcast, share it, tell your friends about it, just blare it out to the whole wide world. We really appreciate that. Okay, guys? So again, this is Chris from Pransform signing off. Hope everybody has a great night, and we will talk to you guys again soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.